Hi, and welcome to Changemakers with Eleanor, the podcast where we dive into the lives and lessons of those who are making a difference. I'm your host, Eleanor Baggaley, and in each episode we bring you inspiring stories from leaders, coaches, and people who are not just dreaming of change, but making it happen. Whether they're penning their first book, working in their community, or leading a revolution in their industry, you'll get a first-hand look at how they're shaping the world. If you're looking to leave a mark or simply love a good story about modern-day heroes, you've come to the right place. Here, we're all about changing the world, whether that's one person's world or the world in general. So grab your notebook or just a comfortable seat and let's explore these fascinating journeys together. Don't forget to subscribe wherever you get your podcasts to ensure you never miss an episode. Let's go change the world together. So welcome to this week's episode, and I am really pleased to be joined by Lata Hamilton. So Lata, do you want to give us a little introduction about who you are and what makes you a change maker?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me. I'm super excited to be here. So my name is Lata Hamilton, and I'm a change leadership and confidence expert. And yeah, I literally work in the realm of change. So I'm an organizational change manager. So literally I live and breathe change. And I help a lot of women discover the world of organizational change management, make the career change to organizational change management, which is a highly paid female-dominated career. And then also inspire them around sort of their career progression, their career growth, and their goals and dreams. So yeah, live and breathe change, personal change, organizational change, project change, every type of change.
And who doesn't love change?
Well, most people.
Oh, see, I'm totally different. I love change.
I love it too. And I think that's what it is, right? It's about taking people on that journey of change so that people can actually feel inspired and empowered by change and start to feel the magic of it.
I guess, and make it feel a little bit less scary to people who are a bit apprehensive about it.
Yeah, absolutely. Because if you don't know what organizational change management is, or if your listeners don't know, it's pretty much like I love to define things really simply. It's just moving people in an organization from one way of doing something to a new way of doing something. And so we do that through communications, training, and business readiness, like making sure they have everything that they need in order to change. So it could be anything from like a new product or a change in a product or service. It could be a new system, technology, platform application, AI. It could be a new operating model or team structure. It could be the move to remote work, the move back to the office. Like anything really that's changing in an organization, we can help people feel informed, inspired, confident, and ready by using change management to help take them on that journey, to engage their hearts and minds, to help them to see themselves in what that future looks like, to empower them, co-create, co-design with them what their experience is going to be in the future, and then help support them to actually make that transition and get there.
I probably could have done with you in my teaching days. I was trying to kind of bring about a system change within a school, and oh gosh, it was quite hard going at times. And I didn't even think about it at the time. It's just like we just need to do this. But
Yeah.
yeah, I possibly needed you on board at that point. We got there in the
And
end.
because you love change, right? So you're probably
Yeah,
like, can't I just tell you to change and you change?
yeah. I was like, just come with me. It'll all be fine. But I think it was more like pulling them, kicking and screaming. Hey ho, we live and learn.
Yeah.
So how did you get into kind of change management and doing what you do now?
It was actually by chance. So I did media and communications at university. And then when I came out, I worked in advertising for a little bit, and then I moved into marketing, so over on the client side. So from sort of the agency side and advertising over to the client side. And then I felt very overlooked and underpaid, and I felt like I wasn't getting like career progression or pay rises or promotion in title that I felt like I deserved, and like I wasn't progressing fast enough in my career. And I ended up changing from the company that I'd done a graduate program with, and it was really, really hard because I felt like I had to be loyal to them because they had invested, they'd given us all of this additional training, all of these opportunities. We did rotations, like so much exposure, so much experience, so many benefits from that for 2 years. And then I felt like I was sort of beholden to stay there and, I guess kind of almost like return that investment that they had made in me.
Yeah.
But the truth is that like I just wasn't like I thought that that place would be a job for life for me, but I needed more. Like I needed more challenge, I needed more growth, I needed that next level up, I needed to feel more valued. And so I ended up changing and moving into marketing within a bank. And so I was working in this bank and I was on like a fixed term contract. So I had like, I think 8 months, and then it got extended to like 11 months. And then I was like, well, what do I do next? Like I've been working in marketing, I've worked in products, I've worked in services now. And just a colleague of mine who worked on the more like the technology side, and she was a project manager. She just said, oh, given like your background and your experience, like I think you'd be great in change management. And I was like, what is change management? Like never heard of it before, like didn't know what she was talking about. And so I went and like had a coffee with a change manager who worked in the organization. And, I was like, oh, I've done all of this process work and I love, improving processes and like compliance and this sort of stuff. And then she said to me, she's like, oh, you haven't said like the one thing that, is really essential for change. And I was like, what's that? And she was like, people. And I was like, I love people too. And it was true because like I had literally just done a life coaching certification. And so I was starting to coach people, helping them, get personal transformation in their life.
Was it just that was a given that people were part of it?
Exactly. I didn't even really think about it. Like I just thought, well, I love doing all this other stuff, like the technical side. And she was like, actually, it's the people side. And I was like, oh, yes. And it really was like that really is the big focus for change management, is like you can have a project that's delivering the best solution, the best technology, the best, model or outcome or process or whatever. But if you don't get the people on board, if you don't engage them and align them and inspire them and empower them, then it's all for naught. And so, I landed my first role in change management, and my colleague had been absolutely right. She, had hit the nail on the head. Like everything that I had done in previous roles kind of got brought into this one role, which allowed me to do everything that I had done before, plus everything that I'm good at, plus everything that I enjoy. So I just felt so lucky, I think, to have landed in a career that gave me so much challenge and so much fulfillment, because you're working on projects. So, like what you work on changes all the time, and you're always implementing something new, which is quite challenging. And I work in all different industries across all different fields, like, completely industry agnostic, because my specialization is change, and anywhere there's people, there's change, right? So like people are always the same everywhere, even if there's some cultural differences. The way that people react and respond to change is always the same. And then probably something that I didn't quite realize at the time, like I didn't realize how lucrative it was going to be for me. So I ended up tripling my salary in the space of 3 years to almost $200,000, because projects paid more. And then also because I went down a path of like how I was employed. So I became like a contractor. So I started to make, all of this money. And then that kind of triggered a lot of personal change in my life, because it allowed me to do things differently. Like it allowed me to work differently. Like it allowed me to, work 4 days a week and then work in my side hustle and still earn like the equivalent of a full-time salary. It allowed me to like take off months of a year, go traveling overseas. It allowed me to just like live a different kind of life and lifestyle. And so, yeah, it was a really interesting like journey. It was purely by chance, but I just feel like I found like the perfect spot for me, and now I've been working in it for 10 years and would never look back.
So do you think that you would have seen that shift that you could have made yourself, or are you kind of eternally grateful for this other person to have seen it within you to kind of give you that little nudge in the right direction?
Well, I think you hit the nail on the head, Eleanor. It's like you were implementing a change, but you didn't know that there was a process or a practice that you could use to support you with the implementation of that. and you don't ever really go to like high school or university or college and like learn about change management. Like it's not like a degree that you can
I'm
go and
feeling like you need
study.
to though, like everything that you've been talking about, and I was just thinking, like, my background is within education, so all that kind of taking people on board, I guess,
Yeah,
kind of you have to do that as a teacher almost, without even realizing that that's what you're doing with things as well, and I think the way that kind of schools and the education system changes, there is constant change happening that actually it probably should be taught in schools because it's happening within schools as well.
absolutely.
And this is just kind of like my mind has gone off on a total thing out of, oh my God, what could we do for the education system with this?
Yeah.
Um but
It's
but
really
yeah,
interesting that you say that actually, because there's like quite a few teachers who come across into change management because people come from all different careers into
yeah,
change management. But like I'm like nobody usually knows about it. Like it's almost like the best kept secret. And so I
yeah,
think it is often by chance that people find out about it. And I think that until you get into workplaces, I definitely know like found this. Like if you had ever asked me when I was at high school or university, like, marketing, I'd be like, oh yeah, I'm going to go and be a marketing manager. Like that's what you do. You go and do a marketing degree. I mean, I
yeah,
did media and communications, but like you go and do a marketing degree and then you go and be a marketing manager. And like that's sort of the only title that you can really think about and the only role that you can kind of envision for yourself. But when you actually get behind the scenes, so when I was working in my first corporate role and I was in a marketing team, behind the scenes within a marketing team, there are so many sub teams within marketing. Like there's the digital team, the social media team, the promotions team, the brand team, the category team. And you don't know about any of those like other subsets. So I think you have to get into industries sometimes. You have to get, into projects or into companies or almost like behind the doors to see what the full breadth of possibility and career options there actually are. And then the big thing that's really, I think, changing for everybody at the moment is the fact that a lot of those roles have not been created yet. We don't know what they
yeah,
even look like. Like AI is going to transform all industries, all roles, all jobs. And so we don't know what the new jobs of the future look like at this stage. And so I think there's a big fundamental shift for anybody who's working to go, maybe it's not the role title, but maybe it's instead the value that I bring. Maybe I need to start to position myself around the value that I bring. And, I do that from a business perspective. I'm a change leadership and confidence expert. I don't necessarily rock up and say I'm an organizational change manager. I mean, I do to my clients, like my consulting clients, but I don't necessarily use my title. I instead kind of position myself and market myself on the value that I bring.
mm,
And I think that's something else. It's like, anybody can use change management or change leadership skills. And I think it's going to be so important in the future for all professionals to really think about what is the value that they bring? How do they set that value apart from other people and apart from anything that can be automated or, that can be essentially done by AI? And that is where a lot of people are going to start to shine. That's where they'll be able to find those new opportunities, those new pathways, potentially even creating them for themselves.
yeah. No, well, yeah, absolutely. I mean, yeah, we do have absolutely no idea what the future is going to look like at the moment. AI is growing kind of quite quickly, isn't it? And it's, yeah, the jobs that we talk about now, no idea what they're going to look like. Is if part of your personal journey through what you've gone through, are there any key lessons that you have learned? I mean, obviously you've talked about kind of the successes and the fact that you've managed to shape your own life to live it how you want to live it, which is something that I kind of absolutely love and stand by. But is there any kind of personal discovery lessons that have, and we'll use the word changed again, changed how you go about kind of doing the things that you do?
Yeah, I think the big one, I kind of alluded to it a little bit earlier, is around loyalty. I think especially for women, like we want to do a good job, we want to be good girls, we want to respect the opportunities and almost like feel grateful for any opportunity that's given to us. and then we might stay in a place that's like for longer than we should,
Mm.
or give more of ourselves than maybe we should. And I definitely have found that multiple times through my career, that I stayed in workplaces that, like my very first job was in a cafe, right? And I worked there for 6 years. But about 5 years in, my boss kind of did a dodgy thing and like stopped giving me shifts and things like that because I was sick and I had to go home. And so she stopped giving me shifts for like the rest of the summer holidays. I was on the university holidays. And so I just was like, screw that. I'm going to go and get another job. So I went and got another job in the city at a sandwich shop. But that kind of didn't last because like they didn't need that many people in the sandwich shop over that time. And so when university rolled back around again and all of the kids went back to school, like back to high school, she reached back out and she was like, when are you going to work your next shift? And I wish so much at that time that I had like the strength in myself. Like I was in my like early 20s. I wish at that time that I'd had the strength and the respect for myself to just go, no, you've disrespected me. Like, I'm not going to come back and work for you. But I was a bit lazy. Like, it was an easy job. I knew it. It was close to home. And it was being given to me. And so I went back, but it just wasn't the same. Like, I never felt comfortable there again. And I'd worked there for like 6 years. So it's, you know what I mean? Like, we had a long history together. And it was really soon after that I kind of just went, like, I was in my 4th year of university, my final year. And I just went, I've done 3 years. I've done all these internships over the summer. I'm like, I want to start getting paid for the skills that I've built and the stuff that I know. And so it was kind of like that feeling of going back into that workplace where I felt so undervalued and I felt so disrespected. It almost was the catalyst for me to then go and get my first job in advertising, like just a casual job in advertising. But like I mentioned, like it's one of the biggest regrets of my life that I didn't just sort of put loyalty on the shelf and actually put myself first.
But should it be a regret, or was that part of the lesson that's helped you to learn that, coupled with kind of your graduate job and feeling the need to kind of be loyal and stay back there? Should it be a regret, or has it just helped you to get to where you are?
Well, maybe if I had learnt the lesson that first time and not still felt that pangs of loyalty for multiple new like next jobs, like it kind of kept coming
Yeah.
up. But no, I think I agree with you. Like every time you sort of have a setback or a challenge, I think it's helping to teach you how to be more true to yourself, how to, stick to your own boundaries, how to put yourself first. And that is one of the reasons actually why I love contracting, is because you're doing the same work as if you were a permanent employee, but there's like a level almost of distance between you and the organization or you and the
Mm.
company. And so you don't feel as embedded and as wedded to them. You have that little bit more ability to feel like, the internal politics don't matter as much, and you're not beholden to them as much. And now I'm an independent consultant, so I have my own consultancy and I work with different consulting clients, and that's the next level again. So I always kind of say, like, the first mindset shift is moving from permanent to contractor, and then the second mindset shift is moving from contractor to consulting. And each of those mindset shifts helps you to almost be more of your own entity. And when you're your own entity, you have that level of freedom, you have that level of choice, and you have that level of, like obviously you want to do a great job for your organization, your client, your project, but you're not going to necessarily put everything on the line for them. And I think that too many professionals wait too long to make the changes that they know they need to make. And
Internally, you mean, with themselves?
yeah, absolutely. And then to make the change in their external world, so like in their career. And like often there is a real cost, like a financial cost to not moving to the next role, or to not moving to, like, because when you change companies, you recalibrate against the open market, which often values you more than your current organization.
Yeah.
Not all the time, but often. But also, I think there's a spiritual cost there. I think there's a spiritual cost in staying stuck where you are, and almost feeling drained by the current situation that you're in. And so you have to kind of weigh that up, like what's the fear and the pain of changing versus the cost and the pain of staying.
Do you think sometimes changing is catching up with yourself? So sometimes there is kind of, and I was just thinking about what you'd said there, but do you feel like sometimes there possibly is a disparity between kind of you've possibly moved on within some parts of yourself, and it's then convincing the rest of yourself to kind of catch up with that? I don't know.
Yeah, I think so. I think sometimes like a change in one area of your life can trigger the changes in another. So it could be like health or a relationship crisis. And then that can sometimes be the thing that triggers you to have more self-worth when it comes to like your finances or your career. And I think sometimes it can also work the other way, where it's like the universe is telling you that you're ready for this change and you're not listening to the signs. You're not taking action. You're staying stagnant. You're staying stuck. And so sometimes the universe just forces it on you, and that could look
Comes
like
knocking at your door.
redundancy. Yeah, that could look like, getting really ill. That could look like, something that takes you out of and forces you to make the change. And, I want people to feel empowered. I want people to make the change on their own terms in their own time, not have it forced on them and sometimes left bruised and broken along the way. I would rather see them making that choice proactively for themselves ahead of time, so that they can do it really strategically, that they can do it really sustainably, and feel secure in the approach that they're taking. And then obviously, be successful in making that change and not come out the other side of that change bruised and battered and broken.
Stronger.
Absolutely. I think if you ever listen to any, like most people, not all people, but most people, when they've gone through a real challenge, like especially when it comes to like redundancy, like I know people who have literally had mental breakdowns because of redundancies, because their role got made redundant or they got laid off. And like, as much as it hurts at the time, it's like over like maybe like it takes a couple of years even potentially. When they reflect back, they're like, that was the best thing that ever happened.
Yeah.
Like because it forced me to make the change that I knew I needed to make.
Yeah, I'm a great believer that kind of everything happens for a reason, and mainly for that kind of when something is changed, when even if you are forced into it or whether you are choosing to do it, there is a reason for that, and it will come good in the end, even if it doesn't necessarily feel it at the time. So
Yeah, when you're in the thick of it, it
yeah.
might feel like you're trying to wade through mud. But when you have that, what is it that they say? Like, hindsight is 2020.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah. So tell us about your book. I mean, I know it wasn't the book that you had set out to write, but tell us a little bit about your book, what it's for, kind of, and where it came from.
Yeah, so I never really planned to write a book. Like I think I did plan to write a book, but I didn't plan to write this book. So Pioneer Your Career Change is the name of my book. And what happened was I was like 33 and I was like, I can barely remember what I had for breakfast yesterday. So I want to capture like the first 30 years of my life. And so I started writing my memoirs and I hand wrote them. And I remember somebody in like a business group was like, oh, just write the memoirs for yourself. Because at first I thought that I'd be publishing the memoirs. So I was kind of editing myself, like along the path of writing it. I was like editing myself and like thinking like, how would a reader read this? And then somebody in a business group was like, oh, just write it for you. And it was like the best advice I ever got, because then I just free wrote. So I had like, I almost like listed out all of these like major stories and moments from my life. And I just had a list of them. And then every day when I'd go to sit down to write my book, which was not every day, it was just like when I felt like it,
Yeah, yeah.
I would go through the list at the start of the like workbook, notebook, and I would look at what story I wanted to write that day. And so I just kind of feel into what it was. And so I kind of chipped away at it, writing the different stories and moments and events of my life, the key ones. And then I sort of knew that I wanted to publish it, but I didn't know what I wanted the book to be on. And then I kind of noticed that like a fair few of the stories were from my career and from my career coaching, because I'd had so many learnings and lessons from that. And so I ended up going, oh, I think there's a book here around career change. So I sort of pulled a lot of those personal anecdotes, personal stories, as well as some, client case studies and things like that, into my book. And it sort of forms around my 5-step career change formula. And like I kind of step through it really sequentially. So it's like a book that has like a lot of real practical tips and ideas and worksheets and things like that with it. But there's also a really, like, it's very anecdotal. It's very personal. Like, it feels very much like my baby. And there's like a lot of spiritual stuff in there, around like inspiration, meditations to do to like, release limiting beliefs you might have around your career. So it's a really kind of like holistic book to kind of help anybody really carve out a new change for their career, even if at this point in time maybe they're not even thinking about career change. Maybe they're just wanting like a pay rise or a promotion or something, but it kind of just lights that fire to help you get clarity and confidence around what it is that you want. And when it all came together, like at the end, I was like, oh yes, like it just felt so like cathartic. Like, it felt really cathartic writing the memoirs, like, and then it really felt really cathartic pulling it into that kind of that process, that formula, being able to reflect on not only like the success that I had had in my career, but also the success of some of my clients and some of my students, and being able to kind of see full circle, like, again, like that kind of that hindsight is 2020, being able to see full circle just how much growth and learning and lessons that I had actually developed over the course of my career. And that's kind of how the book came about. Like, it was never really meant to be what it turned into being, but I am really glad and grateful. And before COVID, I'd done a lot of sort of thinking and talking and had courses and stuff on restructures. So like I had a career coaching program for teams that were going through restructures. And the idea around it was for all teams members. So not just for the people who are losing their job, not just for the people who are being made redundant or laid off. The idea is like everybody's going through the change, regardless of whether their role is impacted or not. So everybody should be supported, with career empowerment. And it was too early. Like, nobody in like 2018, 2019 cared about career and restructures and things like that, and job loss. I mean, I knew that job loss was coming because I stay ahead of trends and things like that. And then it was funny because COVID hit and everything just went around COVID. And kind of put a pause on the technology front. Like, I think that if COVID hadn't happened, the job loss from AI would have happened earlier. But
Oh,
COVID
right,
happened and it kind
okay.
of put a bit of a pause on it. And then AI kind of reared more in sort of 2022, 2023, 2024. And then the conversation has started a lot more now around job loss. What I truly believe is that there's going to be so much job loss. And I don't say this to scare people, it's just a reality. There's going to be so much job loss. But the problem is that we don't know what those jobs of the future are. And people need help. They need leaders like you, like me, change makers who will help them, reimagine their future, upskill, reskill, and bounce back and create new career pathways and create new skill pathways, and new ways to add value when AI does a lot more of the day-to-day operations. And I don't think that people are at that stage at this point in time. Like, I don't think that they've got that internal strength, that internal clarity, that internal confidence to make those changes themselves. So they're looking for leaders. They're looking for people who can help them make that change, like adapt, pivot, transition. So I think everybody has a role to play, whether it's you or somebody that you can be an inspiration.
Do you think part of that not being ready is, well, either denial or I know there's a lot of people you talk to and they still are very against AI. And I don't know whether it is kind of a fear aspect to it or what, but do you think it is that that people just aren't are either in denial or are too scared of it? Or do you think it's just not knowing where things are going?
I had a friend once who her role had been made redundant, and I caught up with her, and we sat down on like some steps and we were having lunch, and I said to her, "Oh, okay, so have you started applying for roles already?" And she's like, "Oh, there's nothing out there." And I'm like, "Oh, like where have you looked? Like what kinds of roles are you looking for?" And she's like, "Oh no, I haven't started looking yet." I said, "Okay, like have you updated your CV?" "Oh no, I haven't updated my CV." And she was just like a deer in headlights, just frozen. And she was super lucky. Like a week out from her finishing up, she landed another role internally. And so she was super lucky. But I remember sitting there because it's so the opposite of how I approach my career and my mentality and my mindset. But it was really eye-opening for me because I was like, I think that's what a lot of people are like. They will just sit in denial, like what you said, like a deer in headlights, kind of frozen. That freeze, flight,
Yeah.
freeze, what fight, flight, freeze response. I'm getting
Yeah.
all tongue-tied. Fight, flies, freeze. Like they're in the freeze, right? So you'll get some people who just already leave. They're like, I'm going to jump on the bandwagon early and I'm going to exit the situation that I'm currently in, or the role or industry or whatever that I'm currently in, because they can see it ahead of time and they are scared. And so they make the move and they have that little bit more agility. But sometimes they might make that move a bit reactively and a bit, maybe too early, whatever. And then you get some people who are going to fight. They're just going to resist it every step of the way. They're going to be really, really resistant in organizations, and they're going to rail against it, and they're going to blame everybody and, be like, Chicken Little, the sky is falling, the sky is falling. And you'll hear about it. You'll know about it because they'll tell you. And
They're
then
the
you've
ones that
got, so I
shout the
think,
loudest.
yeah, exactly. You're the squeaky wheel. They're the squeaky wheel. The majority of people are really in that freeze response where they're just waiting, and I'm a little bit like that too. Like I know I want AI to do a few things for me, and I'm unimpressed when it can't. Like I'll write that email. Can you make me dinner?
Yeah. Can you just do the housework while you're
Really,
out?
like a really simple one is I need some transcriptions done of my coaching calls, right? And AI is just not at the stage yet where it can take away all of the filler words that I need it to take out. And it just can't quite get there. And I'm like, I still have to do the editing of those transcripts myself. So I'm waiting for a time when AI, and I think it will come. I'm
Yeah,
waiting for a
yeah.
time when AI really will
Enhance.
be able to take tasks off our plates. But I think one of the other things why it's justified that people are scary is that they're like AI is a little bit like when I think, because I was pretty young at the time, but I think when the internet first came out in the dot-com boom, where it was a bit of a wild, wild west. And I think that there isn't enough compliance and there isn't enough governance around AI. It's got
Yeah.
too much freedom. And because it doesn't have a moral compass the way that people do, in terms of society puts guardrails in place through societal expectations and conditioning, as well as the law, etc. But AI kind of doesn't have those things in place, and so I think that's another reason why people are very scared of the risks that come with AI. And then also, they're just watching organizations implement it really poorly. Most organizations are putting in an AI tool and they're not thinking through what they want that tool to do. They're not helping their people to come on board with it and to learn about it and to actually co-create, what could this AI tool actually do for us internally. They're just essentially launching and wishing for the best. And so people are like, well, kind of like me, like I'm like, well, I don't know how to get it to do my transcription for me to the quality that I want it to. And so they're like, oh, this is kind of shit, so I don't even care anymore.
Yeah, yeah. No, I do totally get that. Yeah, I mean, I'm excited by it because I think, like, what are the opportunities that come with this? Um, but yeah, it's still, and certainly within the book writing world, there is still a lot of negativity around it, and it is around that governance and that moral compass. So I do
Yeah.
totally get that, and so sometimes it does feel a bit of a conflict within that. But yeah, I do think that people kind of need to be prepared. I don't know whether I'm a little bit alien. I feel like we have kind of touched on this earlier, but back in 2016, I was still teaching at that point, and I'd said, this is my last year of teaching. Don't know what I'm going to be doing next year, but this is my last year of teaching. And it got to May of 2017, and that was when I had to hand my notice in if I wasn't going to be coming back in the September. And I was like, oh, I've got like a week to hand my notice in, and I don't know what I'm going to be doing. And something appeared, kind of literally it appeared, and someone said, do you want to come and do this work with us? And it was just like, oh, wow. Like I'd put that out there, that change was going to happen, but had no idea kind of what or how or when or why or anything. And just had complete faith that something would fall into place. But I guess planning is probably a little bit more of a better approach than, well, I was going to say the winging it, but my entire life is winging it. So who knows?
I think plan as you can plan, as far as you can plan, and then leave space for grace. Leave space for the universe to play its part. Leave space for chance and opportunity to come along as well, right? So, and like I love like your thing, because you set the intention and then you didn't get caught up on the how. And I think the how is what scares so many people. It's like, I don't know how to do it because I've never done it before, or it seems too hard, or it's been a long time since I've done it before. Like, sometimes people will be like, I haven't even written a CV in the last 10 years. I haven't done an interview in 15 years because I've just been like tapped on the shoulder for roles, or I've just, naturally
that is totally me. Yeah.
Yeah. And so it was kind of like, like the way that you approached it was like, I set the intention and then I kind of let the universe do its part. And you probably, did a bit of your part too, but you kind of like your job is to focus on the type of experience that you want to have. And there might be multiple ways to get there, and there might be multiple what's to get there. Like it might not be the role title. So sometimes when I'm helping clients or students do goal setting or vision setting for around their career, sometimes I'll be like to them, it's okay if you don't know the role title of the job that you want to have in, say, 6 months' time. I'm like, but what type of job do you want to do? Like, what's the experience that you want to have? What type of people do you want to work with? What kind of work do you want to work on? What kind of skills do you want to utilize? What kind of leader do you want to have? What kind of money do you want to make? How many days a week do you want to work? Like, what do you want to work from home? Do you want to work in the office? Do you want to do a hybrid mix of both? Like thinking about all that other stuff, the role title is such an insignificant part. If you can focus instead on the experience that you want, on the shift that you want, the change, the transformation, and the types of people that you want to work with, the kind of work that you want to do, the impact that you want to have, the skills that you want to use, it's like you will discover through sheer like opportunity the different roles that are either out there or the different role that you could create in order to get there. And I think that's what happened with me with change management. I think that I was I'd been studying to become a coach, had become a coach, was helping my own clients. And so I was sort of really in that, personal development space and doing a lot of personal self-discovery and growth. And it just so happened that aligned with the fact that then when my colleague told me about change management, I never knew it existed. I didn't know that's where I wanted to move. But then, boom, like that chance encounter happened, that chance moment happened, and the path was set.
I guess it's keeping your mind open, isn't it? And not being closed off to opportunities and experiences that might come along.
Yeah.
Do you have any tips for, I mean, you've covered loads already kind of about the loyalty. I mean, that's my key takeaway about the loyalty, and don't stay somewhere where you're not valued and respected, and don't stay loyal out of just that kind of thought that you need to be. Are there any tips for anybody who is kind of trying to bring about change, whether that is within themselves, whether it's within an organization, whether it's kind of societal impact? Have you got any tips for people?
Yeah, like I think, and this is the first step in my 5-step career change formula, but you can really apply it to any change that you want to make in your life, personal or professional. And it's to calculate the costs. And it's like, what is it currently costing you? And I kind of break it down into 3 areas. One, which is like financial costs. and then one which is like the personal costs, like what it's doing to you, and then one which is the spiritual costs. And it's really important to do that because, like, whatever is happening, it could be even a relationship that you're having, for example, there's going to be costs in each of those areas. And so you need to really think about what is it costing you today, and then what could it cost you in a year's time, 3 years time, 5 years time, 10 years time, if you don't make a change today. And I think for me, I'm very money minded, so I do look at the financial cost. But I think the one where you sort of really start to resonate and find it scary is the spiritual costs, like what it feels to feel stuck, what it feels to feel
Yeah.
undervalued, what it feels to feel, unhappy or miserable or fearful. And it's like the cost of that almost like outweighs everything else because that brings down your entire mode of being and like your spiritual well-being. So if you can just get really clear, and sometimes it's like it might even be putting down a numerical figure um that doesn't even that you don't even think exists. So for a really good example was when COVID hit and we all had to work from home, I was sitting so much during the day that I actually ended up having to go to the physio more
Wow.
because I
Okay.
was getting a lot of back pain because I was sitting. I wasn't doing all that incidental walking that I'd normally have done in the office. Like before COVID, I used to walk to the bus stop, get on the bus. I used to walk about a kilometer from the bus stop to the office. Then before I even got to my desk, I would go up about 3 flights of stairs. And that was all before I even sat down to start my day. Then COVID hits and I'm literally like at my desk for 8 hours straight. So you don't even think about the fact that that way of working, the way that you are working, is having a direct cost, which is the fact that I had to go and do more physio. Well, physiotherapy. I don't know if everybody in the world just shortens it to physio or if that's Australian
Well,
thing.
I assume no. I assume everybody does. Well, I definitely
Yeah.
do anyway.
Well,
So
sometimes I don't know if something's just an Aussie like saying, because we abbreviate everything.
yeah, I think yeah, same.
So we're very lazy speakers. So yeah, so I would just say like start there. Get the lay of the land. Really understand whatever situation you're in. What is it costing you today? Personally, financially, professionally, spiritually. What is it costing you? Because from there, information is power. You can then make some decisions, and you might choose to do nothing, but often when you see it all laid out, on a piece of paper in front of you, you're like, wow, it lights that fire to want to make a change and to feel confident that a change is necessary and that it is possible.
Yeah, yeah. I think you've convinced me that I want to get into change management. It just sounds like perfect. I love it. So before we do kind of start to wrap up, first of all,
Mm.
tell us where if people want to kind of find out more about the work that you do, or where they can get a copy of your book or find out more about kind of you. Where's the best place that they can do that?
Yeah, so if you want to find my book, it's Pioneer Your Career Change, and you can get it in print and ebook on Amazon or all audiobook platforms, including Audible and Spotify. Best way to find me is on LinkedIn. Come say hi, come connect with me on LinkedIn. I'm always posting stuff about career confidence and change management. So I'm super active on LinkedIn. You can come over there. And then if you want like something, if you are thinking about a career change or wanting to get like a pay rise or a promotion, feel free to jump across to my website, latahamilton.com. And if you go to latahamilton.com/worth it, so worth it, then you can get my underpaid and overlooked coaching action guide, which is really great. It's actually got my 5-step career change formula in it. And it's a really good like first step starting point to starting to think about what it is that you might like and how you might be able to get there.
Okay, love it. Thank you. And we'll make sure that all the links for those go into the show notes so people can find you anyway. So obviously I end with all my guests. Can you tell us something interesting or a fun fact about yourself that people might not know about you?
Yeah, so I already pre-prepared one. I was a teenager, like a late teenager or early 20s, when I discovered that not everybody thinks the same way that I think, in terms of I've got like a really strong visual component, and every single word that's spoken or that I hear, I see it almost like ticker tape across the movie screen of my mind. So every time I'm having a conversation or reading a book, it's almost like I'm hearing it 3 times, because I'm hearing it and then it's going across the movie screen of my mind, and then I'm seeing it and then I'm processing it again. And then if I say it, then I'm processing it a third time. So I didn't know that like not everybody thinks that way. Like it's really interesting, and like there's even some people who don't even make pictures in their mind. But
Yeah.
yeah, I just assumed that everybody did that, and I guess it's why I'm really good at spelling and like proofreading and things like that, is probably because I literally see everything, and it can be quite tiring, but it's also really great for like memory and comprehension. But yeah, I just assumed everybody thought that way, but apparently they don't.
Yeah, I'd heard of, there's a friend of mine who does a lot of kind of visual work. So she's very kind of, she sees, I mean, I know a lot of people see things in pictures and things like that, but she sees like everything is kind of pictures intertwined and things like that. And I can't remember the words for it, but there are kind of the two extremes of the spectrum of kind of seeing things in pictures and then just not seeing things at all. But I hadn't heard of the kind of seeing things in the actual words as you go across. That's really interesting.
Yeah. Like
I'm
almost like,
intrigued.
like in the stock market, how like the thing is always running, or
Yeah,
like at the bottom of like a
the news.
newscast, how
Yeah.
like the ticker tape is always running. That's kind of like what it is to me. And so like I don't have an eidetic memory, but I have a photographic memory. So I can often like really kind of like pinpoint really specific things. And I can remember like whole essays and stuff like that, and just like rewrite them when I'm in the exam. And
Oh my God, that's cheating, surely.
I wrote the essay. I did not write the essay at the start. I wrote the essays. I'm just memorizing my own stuff.
That is quite impressive. I am actually impressed with that. That's amazing. I haven't heard that before, but yeah, that is amazing. Well, before we do tie up, is there anything else that you wanted to talk about today that we haven't yet covered?
I think it was a really lovely chat, and thank you so much for having me. And yeah, I really enjoyed it.
Oh, well, thank you so much for coming on. I've really, really enjoyed this morning and well, the evening, night for you, I guess. But yeah, I'm definitely going to take away of the don't stay loyal beyond where you should feel anyway. So thank you. That's my key takeaway for that. But yeah, we'll make sure all of the information is shared in the show notes. And thanks a lot for coming and sharing all about change.
You're so welcome.
Thank you for tuning in to this episode of Changemakers with Eleanor. I hope you're leaving as inspired as I am. If today's story has sparked something in you, remember it's never too late to start making a difference. Whether it's writing that book you've always dreamed of, stepping up in your community, or starting that campaign you're passionate about. If you enjoyed our time together, please consider giving us a rating and review on your favourite podcast platform, and share this episode with someone who could use a little inspiration. Your support helps us to reach more changemakers just like you. Join me, Eleanor, in the next episode for another deep dive into the stories of those who dare to dream big. Until then, be your greatest. See you next time.